Renato Moicano has once again made headlines with his bold take on the lightweight division. The Brazilian UFC lightweight, never shy about giving his honest opinion, shared his thoughts in a recent Portuguese-speaking interview where he discussed the possibility of a matchup between current featherweight champion Ilia Topuria and top contender Arman Tsarukyan. According to Moicano, if these two rising stars were ever to face each other inside the octagon, Ilia Topuria would have a clear and dominant edge. "I don't think Arman Tsarukyan is as good as people make him out to be," Moicano said. "I respect him, he's talented, but if he fought Ilia, I truly believe Ilia would dominate him." Moicano's comments come at an interesting time. Earlier this week, rumors were swirling that Ilia Topuria was being lined up to defend his title against Justin Gaethje at UFC 322. However, those reports turned out to be false, and fans were left speculating about who would be Topuria's first opponent as champion. With nothing finalized for his next bout, names like Gaethje, Max Holloway, and Tsarukian continue to circulate as potential challengers. For Moicano, however, Tsarukian simply doesn't have what it takes to beat someone like Topuria. He doubled down on his statement, saying, "Look, I have nothing personal against Arman. He's a strong wrestler, a good grappler, and he's improving as a striker. But Eli is on another level right now. His boxing is sharp, his power is undeniable, and he has that confidence of a young champion who knows he can beat anyone. I just don't see Arman being able to impose his game on someone like Topuria." Tsarukian, of course, is coming off a career-defining win over former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira, which solidified his place as one of the top contenders at 155 pounds. His relentless pressure, elite wrestling base, and cardio make him a difficult matchup for anyone in the division. But for Moicano, even those tools wouldn't be enough against the raw power and skill set of Topuria. "People hype Arman because he's young, and he just beat a former champion," Moicano explained. "But when you look closely, he still makes mistakes. Against someone like Ilia, mistakes will cost you. Ilia doesn't need many openings, one clean punch, one explosive combination, and it's over." It's worth noting that Moicano has been in the UFC long enough to recognize the elite talent when he sees it. His perspective carries weight because he has fought some of the best names across two divisions, including Jose Aldo, Korean Zombie, and Rafael dos Anjos. For him to claim Topuria would dominate Tsarukian is not only bold, but also a statement rooted in experience and observation. Whether or not fans agree with Moicano's prediction, one thing is clear: Ilia Topuria has become one of the most talked about fighters in the UFC, and any matchup involving him is bound to generate excitement. Tsarukian, meanwhile, remains hungry and determined to prove himself as the future of the lightweight division. If these two ever do meet inside the octagon, it would be a fascinating clash of styles, wrestling pressure against explosive striking. Until the UFC officially announces Topuria's next opponent, speculation will continue. But for now, Moicano has added fuel to the fire, leaving fans debating whether his prediction holds any truth or if Tsarukian has what it takes to silence the doubters. Moving to our next news, since leaving the UFC, Francis Ngannou, famously known as the Predator, has kept the MMA world buzzing with questions about what's next for his career. Despite being one of the most feared heavyweights in combat sports history, Ngannou has only competed in a single MMA bout since parting ways with the organization. Fans, analysts, and fighters alike have been eagerly waiting for clarity on his future. Now, his longtime coach at Extreme Couture, Eric Nicksick, has finally provided an update. In a recent interview with MMA Junkie, Nicksick shared rare insight in Ngannou's next potential moves. According to him, he and Ngannou remain in close contact, but their conversations are often more personal than professional. "We talk regularly, but we just talk as buddies," Nicksick explained. "I know the Wilder rumor has been circulating for a while. I actually spoke to him a couple of days ago, but it wasn't about fighting, it was just about life and family. That's the kind of relationship we have." Nicksick also revealed that he will be heading to Paris soon with UFC fighter Brad Tavares, and while there, he plans to reconnect with Ngannou. This meeting is expected to shed more light on Ngannou's training, his mindset, and his future plans in both boxing and MMA. "I'll be able to spend a couple of days with Francis in Paris," Nicksick said. "We'll catch up, and I'll get a better sense of where he's at in terms of training and what his next plan really is." One of the hottest topics in combat sports has been the possibility of a crossover fight between Francis Ngannou and heavyweight boxing star Deontay Wilder. For months, speculation has swirled about a blockbuster clash between the two knockout artists, and according to Nicksick, this may very well be the fight Ngannou wants most at the moment. "It sounds to me like he's focused on that Wilder fight," Nicksick admitted. "Honestly, I haven't heard much about an MMA fight. From what I can tell, all the buzz and energy seem to be directed toward boxing right now." Still, Nicksick emphasized that as a coach, he would love to see Ngannou return to MMA. Over the years, he has witnessed tremendous growth in Ngannou's skills, not just as a power puncher, but as a complete fighter. From his improved wrestling defense to his composure under pressure, Ngannou's evolution inside the cage has been remarkable. I want to see him fight MMA again, Nixick said, because I've seen firsthand how much he's improved and how much more dangerous he's become. However, the reality remains that there has been little movement on the MMA front. Negotiations, promotional hurdles, and financial considerations seem to have delayed any concrete MMA booking. For now, the prospect of Ngannou versus Wilder looms larger than any potential return to the cage. As things stand, fans may have to wait longer to see the Predator back in MMA, but whether it's in a boxing ring or inside the octagon, one thing is certain: whenever Francis Ngannou competes again, the combat sports world will be watching. Moving to our next news, UFC President Dana White once again shook up the MMA world with a string of blockbuster announcements that will shape the promotion's upcoming pay-per-view schedule. After hours of anticipation on Thursday night, White took to Instagram Live to confirm 3 massive title bouts, including the UFC's highly awaited return to Madison Square Garden in New York City this November. The headline attraction for UFC 322, set for November 15th at MSG, will see reigning welterweight champion Jack Della Maddalena defend his title against one of the sport's most dominant forces, former lightweight king Islam Makhachev. The matchup, which had been speculated on for weeks, is now official and promises to be one of the biggest showdowns of the year. Maddalena, who has quickly risen to stardom with his crisp boxing and aggressive style, will face the suffocating wrestling and relentless pressure of Makhachev, a clash of 2 very different but equally elite skill sets. In the co-main event, White revealed another super fight that has fans buzzing. Valentina Shevchenko, the long-reigning queen of the women's flyweight division, will defend her 125-pound crown against Zhang Weili. In a stunning development, Zhang has vacated her strawweight title in pursuit of the historic opportunity to dethrone Shevchenko. This matchup will mark one of the rare occasions where 2 of the most dominant women in UFC history collide, and it could very well redefine the legacy of both athletes. Adding even more depth to the UFC 322 card, a crucial welterweight bout has been confirmed between former champion Leon Edwards and rising contender Carlos Prates. Edwards, determined to climb back into title contention after losing his belt, will face Prates, a dangerous and hungry challenger whose recent performances have captured the attention of the MMA world. This fight will play a pivotal role in shaping the future of the welterweight division, but the announcements did not stop there. While UFC 322 grabbed headlines, UFC 321, scheduled in Abu Dhabi, also received major updates. With Zhang Weili officially vacating her strawweight belt, the UFC has booked a rematch between Verna Jandiroba and Mackenzie Dern for the now vacant 115-pound championship. Both fighters have been steadily climbing the ranks, and their rematch adds significant intrigue to an already stacked card in the Middle East. In addition, White confirmed another exciting matchup. Umar Nurmagomedov will face Mario Bautista in a highly competitive bantamweight clash. Nurmagomedov, a rising star from the legendary Dagestani fighting lineage, will look to continue his undefeated run against the ever-dangerous Bautista, who has quietly put together an impressive streak of his own. Following the announcements, MMA Fighting's Mike Heck and Casey Layden broke down the news, highlighting the depth and star power of the upcoming cards. Fans immediately flooded the comments with excitement, acknowledging that the UFC's year-end schedule has the potential to deliver some of the most memorable fights in recent history. With 3 world titles on the line across 2 pay-per-view events, the stakes could not be higher. Madison Square Garden has become the UFC's marquee stage, and UFC 322 is shaping up to be a historic night where champions, contenders, and legends collide. Moving to our next news. The MMA community is buzzing once again as top lightweight contender Mateusz Gamrot has issued a challenge to fellow contender Arman Tsarukyan. Known for his relentless grappling, high-level wrestling, and explosive style, Gamrot took to social media platform X, formerly Twitter, to reveal that he had been offered a grappling match against Tsarukian. However, instead of jumping straight into a submission-only or wrestling-based contest, Gamrot suggested that the fight fans truly want to see is a full-fledged UFC showdown inside the octagon. "I got offered for a grappling match with Arman again," Gamrot wrote. "People want to see us fight each other. I think we should do it in the UFC first." This bold statement immediately sparked debate across the MMA world. Fans remember well the first time these 2 warriors met. Their previous encounter was a high-paced, technical, and grueling battle that showcased both men's cardio, chain wrestling, and ability to adapt under pressure. It was considered one of the most competitive lightweight fights in recent years, with both fighters leaving the cage with their stock raised. Since then, Tsarukian has emerged as one of the brightest rising stars in the lightweight division, while Gamrot has built a reputation as a relentless competitor willing to take on anyone. Gamrot's call-out also comes at a time when the lightweight division is arguably at its most competitive. With Islam Makhachev currently holding the title, contenders such as Dustin Poirier, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Beneil Dariush, and Michael Chandler all remain in the mix. Amid this chaos, a rematch between Gamrot and Tsarukian could serve as a legitimate title eliminator, with the winner moving one step closer to a shot at championship gold. Interestingly, Gamrot's mention of a grappling match highlights another intriguing aspect of their rivalry. Both fighters are widely respected for their wrestling and grappling skill sets. Tsarukian is known for his sambo base and scrappy takedown defense, while Gamrot has a decorated background in wrestling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. A grappling-only contest would undoubtedly excite purists of the sport, but Gamrot seems determined to keep the battle under UFC lights, where striking, wrestling, and submissions can all blend together in the ultimate test of mixed martial arts. For Tsarukian, who has been steadily climbing the ranks, this potential fight also represents an opportunity to solidify his claim as one of the division's elite. With his youth, explosiveness, and growing fan base, Tsarukian has everything needed to be a future star of the UFC. For Gamrot, a rematch would be about redemption, proving he can outwork and outsmart one of the division's toughest prospects in a 5-round war. As of now, the UFC has not confirmed any official bout between the two. However, with Gamrot's public call-out and the fan interest surrounding this rivalry, it would not be surprising if the UFC matched them up once again, this time with higher stakes. Whether it happens in a grappling competition or inside the octagon, one thing is certain: Gamrot versus Tsarukian is a fight the MMA world wants to see again. With 3 world titles on the line across 2 pay-per-view events, the stakes could not be higher. Madison Square Garden has become the UFC's marquee stage, and UFC 322 is shaping up to be a historic night where champions, contenders, and legends collide. Merab Dvalishvili, widely known as one of the most relentless wrestlers in the UFC, has sent a powerful message ahead of his upcoming fight with Corey Sandhagen at UFC 320. Fans have long recognized Merab as the machine for his unbreakable pace, grinding pressure, and suffocating grappling style, but this time, he isn't just talking about wrestling. Instead, Merab is making a bold promise: he wants to knock Corey out. That's right, the Georgian powerhouse, who has built his reputation on overwhelming opponents with takedowns and non-stop scrambles, is now shifting the conversation. Ahead of the fight, Merab looked directly into the camera in a video posted to his Instagram and said with confidence, "My goal, sorry Corey, sleep baby." He even captioned the clip with a chilling statement, "Looking for the KO next time." This is not the first time Merab has hinted at evolving his skill set. Before his fight with Sean O'Malley, he mentioned wanting to showcase more of his striking ability. Over the years, flashes of his developing power have been visible, though his wrestling has always been the centerpiece of his arsenal. What makes his striking dangerous, however, is the constant threat of his wrestling. Opponents are so focused on defending takedowns that they leave themselves vulnerable to punches, kicks, and combinations. Corey Sandhagen, on the other hand, is one of the most dangerous and technical strikers in the bantamweight division. Nicknamed the Sandman, he has made a career out of finishing elite opponents in spectacular fashion. His highlight reel includes spinning attacks, flying knees, and perfectly timed counters that have left top contenders unconscious. Sandhagen's striking precision, creativity, and timing have made him one of the most feared stand-up fighters in the UFC today. On paper, Corey holds a clear edge when it comes to striking. His ability to control range, mix up techniques, and exploit defensive holes is second to none. But as MMA fans know, fights are not won on paper. Merab's style has always been about breaking opponents with his pace and cardio. He doesn't slow down, doesn't back off, and keeps pushing forward until his rivals mentally and physically break. That's what makes this matchup so compelling. If Merab decides to truly commit to striking exchanges against Corey, fans can witness an entirely new version of the machine. For years, critics have said he was one-dimensional, relying too heavily on wrestling. But with his confidence now growing in his hands, he's determined to prove otherwise. Winning by decision is no longer enough. He wants to make a statement, and nothing sends a stronger message than knocking out one of the best strikers in the division. UFC 320 is shaping up to be one of the most electrifying cards of the year, and the clash between Merab Dvalishvili and Corey Sandhagen is at the heart of the excitement. Will the relentless machine overwhelm the Sandman with pressure and pace, or will he deliver on his promise to score the knockout and shock the division? One thing is certain, Merab is not coming to simply wrestle his way to victory. He's coming to prove that he can stand, strike, and put Corey Sandhagen to sleep. Fans are in for a thrilling showdown when these two warriors step inside the octagon.